All right, welcome to OBS Studio. This is the software that we use to broadcast all of our live cams from a desktop PC. Now this runs equally good on the Macintosh or on Windows PC. Now before we even get into OBS, there's a really important thing that you can't overlook when setting up your computer, especially if you're going to use a laptop or a slightly less powerful device. You must go into the control panel and go to your power settings. Now in here, a lot of modern computers, Dell and whatnot, they create all these power profiles that save a little electricity on your computer, but they also actually somewhat dramatically reduce the processing power of your computer. So you want to make for certain that your computer is set to the profile called high performance. If it's on balanced or any of these power saver modes, you're going to have trouble encoding video on your computer fast enough. But high performance mode ensures that your computer is going to be running at 100% of its capacity. So very important. And if you ever create a new user, like let's say you create a new username on your computer and then log into your computer using that profile, you have to once again come in and set the power, because the power setting is per user on your computer. It's not globally. So if you're sharing a computer and different people are logging in and out, whatever profile you're logged in on, at the time that you actually do your broadcast, you need to make absolute for certain that you're set to high performance, or you might run into uploading problems because your computer cannot encode the video fast enough. Okay, OBS. At first glance, OBS does look a little bit overwhelming, and we realize that everybody out there are not technical wizards or programmers, but it's actually a great piece of software, and once we go through the steps of getting the data rates and whatnot set up for your broadcast, it's incredibly easy to use. So, the basics of using OBS work like this. It supports multiple scenes. So if you were a broadcaster and you had multiple cameras set up in multiple rooms or multiple sets, you can switch between scenes really easily. We're not going to mess with any of that. We're just going to have a single scene called live cam. So, and it defaults to having a single scene here. If you need to create a scene, you just hit the plus button right there. So once we have a scene created, we have to add a source. So we hit plus. And where is video capture device? That's our webcam that we have plugged in. And we really recommend the Logitech series of cameras. Both the C920 and the C930 are fantastic cameras. They do a really good job. So let's add one, create new, and it'll take a second here. Now notice that our video is not 16:9. Some of these cameras, I'm using this Microsoft LifeCam, and it defaults to this 4:3 thing because it's kind of a Skype camera. So we want to come down here to resolution and choose custom, and then set it to its maximum resolution. 1280 by 720 is a 16:9. See how the aspect ratio of the video completely changed there? So instead of this boxy 4:3 mode, now we get the full 16:9 aspect ratio, which is what we want to broadcast using. Okay, you don't have to mess with any of this stuff. Every camera has different settings. You can go configure the video and adjust the white balance and whatnot. If you don't know what white balance is, you should learn about it, because you want to only be shining one light color onto yourself at a time. If you're shining fluorescent lights and tungsten lights, those are what's called different color temperatures, and that's going to make your skin tones look really weird. So do a little reading on different color of light, and make sure that you're just using a single type of light source when lighting yourself. Okay, click OK. Now, you'll see that it's not filling the whole screen here, but we're going to take care of that in a second when we go in to the settings here and adjust it. You can actually move this around and adjust and position where you want it, but it's going to take care of itself here in a minute when we resize our canvas down to 1280 by 720. So let's head into settings. You don't need to mess with any of the general settings. In stream, we want to pick custom streaming server, and for the URL and the stream key, we have to go over to the website You need to log in as yourself and then come in here and make sure you don't put spaces on the beginning of the end. If you put a space here at the beginning or a space here at the end, that will screw up OBS. So paste that in there, come back and grab our stream key, copy, paste. You can hit the show button, it'll show what the stream key is. Okay, that's good. You can hit apply. Now we go down to output. There's two output modes, simple and advanced. Now for our purposes, we actually have to go to advanced. So switch it to advanced. The encoder that you want to use is X264. Don't use the NVIDIA encoder if you happen to have an NVIDIA video card in your computer. Use the software one called X264. We want to turn off rescale output for now. The rate control that we want, there's a few of these acronyms that make no sense to you whatsoever. We want CBR, which stands for constant bit rate. Constant bit rate means whatever number we type in here is the exact bit rate that the video portion of our signal is going to consume. Now you want this number to be 1,000, at the very most 1,200. Otherwise, folks trying to consume your video on mobile are going to have a hard time. So we'll put it to 1,000. The keyframe interval has to be 2. It absolutely has to be set to 2. Any other value will break it. So next, we can drop down this CPU usage. Keep it between fast and faster. If you have a very fast computer, you can set it to fast. If you have a slower computer, you can set it to faster, which means it takes less time encoding the video. You want your profile to be set to main. And tuning, just leave it at none. We don't want any of this film grain stuff or any of that. Okay, so from the top, go to advanced mode, X264, constant bitrate, 1,000, and 2. Fast for the CPU and a main profile. Apply. Now we can get down to our audio. Now, audio is a little tricky because the name of the audio input and output devices is different on every computer. I have a Realtek audio chipset on my motherboard, so my audio output comes out through speakers, Realtek high-definition audio device. But depending on what devices and whatnot you have plugged into your computer, you kind of have to experiment and figure out what the right output is. So you want one output so that we can hear things. And then under microphone and audio device, we want to pick our webcam. So I'm using a Microsoft HD3000 cam, so we'll pick that as our input audio settings. That's it for audio. You just have to pick what your speakers are and what your microphone is. Last, we're going to head to the video tab, and we're going to set our base canvas to 1280 by 720. And then we're going to choose what resolution we want OBS to scale the video down to for broadcast. Now, I recommend 848 by 480. You can push it to 960 by 540, or at the very most, I recommend broadcasting at 1280 by 720. The sharpest, clearest picture you're going to get is actually at 852 by 480, given that we only have 1,000 bits of data to pack all the video into. So you can choose from one of those three resolutions. Here you always want to choose bicubic. That's a reasonable scaling method that's pretty fast. And then here you want to set this to integer FPS values and either put in 15, 20, or 24 for your frame rate. Now, the higher you put your frame rate in, the less sharp your picture is going to be, because the computer has to pack more images into the same 1,000 bits of data rate. So camming tends to be a pretty static thing where the girl's not, there's no high-speed motion in camming. So you can actually get away with 15 frames per second and have it look very good. So we hit apply and done. Now we can scale this guy up till it snaps to the corner there, and we are ready to go with our live broadcast. One more thing that you might want to do, especially if you want to protect yourself from people recording and stealing your broadcasts, is you might want to add a watermark down here in the corner. So to add a watermark, we say plus, add an image, we'll call it watermark. Browse to where it's at on your computer. And here's our watermark. Now it needs to be a PNG file and have alpha channel in it or transparency. Otherwise it's going to look weird when we put it on the screen. So say OK. It pops it in up here. We can drag it down here in the corner, inset it just a little bit, and then scale this guy down. And just like that, our video will be watermarked as we broadcast. So again, all we did was say plus and add an image, and the image was a PNG file, and then we drug it where we wanted it on the screen. You know, you can easily drag it and have it over here in this corner. I personally prefer it in the bottom right corner. And you can drag these corner handles and size it to whatever size that you like. We're now all set up and ready to broadcast. We're going to use a simulated live broadcast here. This is actually some canned footage that we recorded in the last few days, but we're going to use that footage and broadcast it as though we're recording it live with our camera right now. So let's go ahead and start streaming. We hit the start streaming button. A few seconds later, we see that we're live here. We haven't dropped any frames, which is good news. We're using about 4% of the computer, running at 15 frames a second. So now that our stream is up and running, we can switch over to the browser and go into the model's camera interface. Once on the cams page, the model can either click on her icon here, or she can hit go to my cam page. Just like that, we're up. Okay, so she's broadcasting from OBS, but we haven't turned on the live broadcast on the server side yet. So everyone is still seeing the offline demo video that runs, and as soon as she hits live, we'll actually be recording, we'll be broadcasting live. So let's go ahead and hit it.
Aw, thank you. You're so sweet. Hooray!
Okay, and let's turn her audio off. So we have our simulated broadcast running now. Okay, let's go ahead and run a different browser. Let's run Microsoft Edge. And go to Sexy Yoga. And now you'll see we're logged in as a free user named Mr. Freeze. And if we go to cams, we see that Kim Powers has a live show going. If we bounce into her live show, it takes a couple seconds to get the
You're a dork. Why are you a dork?
And there we are. I'm going to kill her sound again. So that is the basics of bringing the live stream online. You start by initiating streaming in OBS Studio. From there, the model can make her cam live or offline here. So like if she wants to go offline, boop, offline she is. And here our free user sees it as offline as well. If we go back in there and turn it back online.
The flute when I was really young, but I haven't done that in a long time. So probably can't do that.
And now our free user is getting her live stream as well. Okay, one more thing worth talking about as it's associated with getting live streams up and running is all the models, what we call chat buttons and action buttons over here. If we open another tab and go to edit chat buttons on the models control panel, let us go ahead and add a chat button. Let's add 2. Okay, once we add the buttons, we can edit them. This will all become a lot clearer in a second once we show you what they look like over in the interface. So let's call this one Wear High Heels. And it's going to be a goal of 300 tokens, and it's going to go up 50 tokens at a pop. When the goal gets reached, we want a sound effect to go off. Okay, let's go with tension. So this goal is enabled, and it's an auto reset goal. Actually, it wouldn't make sense for her to put on high heels only once, so we'll turn off auto reset on this goal. So save changes. Now, if we look at her interface, a new goal button has showed up over here. It says wear high heels at 300. So every time you click it, an end user clicks it, it's going to go up by 50 tokens. She's going to get paid 50 tokens, and the progress bar is going to head towards getting filled up. Now, Mr. Freeze, he has thousands of tokens. What happens when he clicks it? You can see here it shows that 50 tokens were spent towards wearing the high heels, and the progress bar went up. So, one more time. Now, let's go back over to her interface and edit the second button that we created. So we'll call this one Booty Shake. And it's going to be a goal at 500 tokens, and it goes up 100 at a time. And okay, so this goal is set to 500, and it goes up in increments of 100 when the button is clicked. Now immediately, if we look back here, there's a second goal, Booty Shake at 500. So if we bounce over to the end user's profile, let's go ahead and fill this one up. You can see his tokens are being spent as he clicks it. Okay, at this point, the model would then respond to the fact that the booty shake goal was reached, and she would perform her booty shake activity. You can also see that the goal reset itself back to 0 here. Now, let's go back to her profile and switch to the other tab, and let's add a couple action buttons. So action buttons are one-off buttons. You click them, the model gets paid a specific number of tokens, and then does an instant action. Say, spanking for 200 tokens, and we'll give it chimes. Save. Let's add one more action button. Whoops, I hit edit. I meant to say add. Edit it and make it say big smile for 25 tokens. Good. Save changes. Now when we go back to the live interface, there's spanking for 200 and big smile for 25. So that's the basics of how to edit action buttons, which have goals, and chat buttons. Actually, I just said it backwards. Chat buttons have goals, and action buttons are one-off activities. So that is the basics of getting your live cam broadcasts configured with OBS set up and turned on. Let's go ahead and turn this one off. and then go back to OBS and stop streaming. And we're out.